Yo, what's up guys? Today we're diving into one of the wildest conspiracy theories in sports history. It's about Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the man who basically carried the NBA through the 90s. But in 1993, right at the peak of his powers, Jordan shocked the world and retired from basketball to go play baseball. At least that's the story we were told. But what if that's not the whole truth? What if the NBA didn't actually want him on the court, and his retirement was actually a secret suspension for gambling? Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but stick with me because when you look at the timeline, the rumors, and the details, it starts to sound a lot less far-fetched than you'd think. So let's break this down. By 1993, Jordan wasn't just a basketball player, he was the basketball player. 3 straight championships with the Bulls, MVPs, Finals MVPs, Olympic gold, Space Jam on the horizon. He was literally bigger than the NBA itself. Kids all over the world were rocking Air Jordans. He was a walking brand. So why in the world would a 30-year-old in his prime just walk away? His official explanation was that after his father was murdered in the summer of '93, he lost his passion for basketball and wanted to pursue his dad's dream of him playing pro baseball. And don't get me wrong, that's a touching story, but it left a lot of people scratching their heads. You don't just wake up one morning at the height of your career and go, yeah, I'm done dominating the NBA, let's go try baseball, folks. And this is where the gambling comes in. Everybody knew Jordan loved to gamble. Golf, poker, casinos, you name it. He was crazy competitive and always betting money on something. There are stories of him gambling on which luggage would come off the airport carousel first. That's how deep it went. But by the early 90s, the media started digging into it more seriously. In '92, he was spotted in an Atlantic City casino the night before a playoff game. The Bulls lost that game, and suddenly the media started asking if his gambling was a distraction. Then in '93, things really blew up. A guy named Richard Esquinas released a book claiming Jordan owed him over $1 million from golf bets. Around the same time, a criminal investigation revealed Jordan had written a $57,000 check to cover gambling losses to a convicted drug dealer. Yeah, not a great look for the face of the NBA. The NBA said they were looking into it, but then, out of nowhere, Jordan retires. That timing felt a little too convenient. The theory goes like this. Commissioner David Stern and the NBA didn't want to publicly suspend their biggest star. That would have crushed the league's image. So instead, they reached a secret agreement. Jordan would step away from the game, call it a retirement, and quietly serve out what was essentially a suspension. That way, the NBA saves face, Jordan takes a break, and in a couple of years he can come back clean with no official punishment on his record. And guess what? That's pretty much exactly what happened. Jordan retires in October 1993. He spends about 18 months playing minor league baseball for the Chicago White Sox system. Then in March 1995, he suddenly announces, I'm back, returns to the NBA, and boom, no mention of gambling, no mention of suspension, just business as usual. The gap in time, just about 2 seasons, which coincidentally lines up with how long a serious suspension might have been. Now obviously David Stern denied this theory hard. He called it ridiculous and said there was no way the NBA would sideline its most profitable player. And to be fair, that does make sense. The league was making insane money off Jordan. Ticket sales, TV ratings, jerseys, all of it was tied to him. Why would Stern willingly take that away? But here's the counter argument. What if Stern was thinking about the long-term health of the NBA? If Jordan's gambling ties had spiraled into something bigger, like connections to shady characters, or worse, suspicions that games were being influenced, the entire credibility of the league could have been destroyed, and taking him off the court for a couple of years quietly might have felt like the safer option compared to risking a massive scandal. And then there's the baseball angle. Like, really think about it. Jordan playing baseball just makes the whole thing even weirder. This is a guy who hadn't played since high school suddenly saying, yeah, I'm gonna chase this dream now. Don't get me wrong, he actually gave it a serious shot and wasn't terrible considering the circumstances, but come on, doesn't it feel like the perfect cover story? It gave him a way to stay in the public eye while not being in the NBA, and it tied back to his dad's tragic death, which made people less likely to question it. Speaking of his dad, that's another piece of the puzzle people bring up. James Jordan was murdered in July of '93, just months before Michael's retirement. The official story is that it was a random act of violence and 2 teenagers were convicted of the crime. But conspiracy theorists, and I'm not saying I buy this, have even tied that back to Jordan's gambling debts, suggesting his father's death wasn't random at all. That's a dark road to go down and there's zero hard evidence for it. but it shows how deep the speculation around Jordan's gambling went at the time. So let's stack it up. On one side, the evidence for the suspension theory, the timing of his retirement, the ongoing gambling investigations, the fact that his time away was basically the length of a suspension, and the convenient baseball excuse. On the other side, Stern's denial, the NBA's reliance on Jordan financially, and Jordan's own personal story about grief and chasing his dad's dream. At the end of the day, nobody has ever produced a smoking gun. No documents, no whistleblowers, nothing concrete. Jordan himself has always laughed off the idea, and honestly, it could just be that he was burned out. Think about it. 3 straight titles, constant media pressure, the weight of being the face of sports, add in his father's death, and maybe he really did just need a break. But here's the thing, the theory hasn't gone away. Even decades later, fans still debate it. Was it just a coincidence that the most dominant player in basketball history retired in his prime, right when a gambling scandal was brewing, or was it all part of a carefully planned cover-up to protect the league's image? So what do you think? Was Michael Jordan's retirement in 1993 really about grief in baseball, or was it the NBA pulling strings behind the scenes to quietly punish its biggest star? Let me know in the comments, because I'm really curious where you guys land on this. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of basketball's biggest mysteries, hit that like button, subscribe for more sports conspiracies and legends, and hey, maybe even share this with that one friend who still argues Jordan versus LeBron every chance they get. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.